Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. It's Friday the 22nd of December 2023. Well, you might have been wondering where I've been to because what's it been, 5 or 6 weeks since I posted the last video, which was a bit of a summary of how we got on at the NEC Classic Motor Show in the middle of November. But I've been concentrating on documentation in the meantime because I've had a bit of a joint problem in my wrist, which I get off and on. So that's prevented me from doing much work on the bike. So in the meantime, what we've been doing is we've got the A70 Lightning finally registered at last, after a bit of to and fro with the DVLA and Revenue and Customs. And also I'm in the throes of registering the B50 SS and also putting together documentation to support the registration process for the Furies SS. So I've made some progress on that front. The A70 Lightning was a bit of a challenge because it had been imported so many years ago, before the UK NOVA system, i.e. Notice of Vehicle Arrivals system, was implemented by our Revenue and Customs here. And so it had an import certificate, which was what they called a C&E, Custom and Excise 386. And the DVLA, the Vehicle Licensing Authority here, will not now accept that as proof of import duties haven't been paid, etc. So they rejected my initial application for registration and asked me to liaise with Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, to get a later NOVA reference assigned to it, which they did pretty quickly actually. They acknowledged that they got it on file that that the A70 Lightning import duties had been paid all those years ago. When was it? 30, 40 years ago when it was imported. And once I'd got that NOVA reference, I reapplied to the DVLA, and they did then issue an age-related registration number. So that's all good. So we can get on with assigning that to the bike, and hopefully we'll do a bit of road use on that bike next year, because it does need some miles putting on it after all the work we did on it, just addressing crank end float and making sure the oil pressure was all right, etc. And really it just needs running in some miles now. So hopefully that will give us a basis for something to focus upon in 2024. So that's got the sort of documentation effort covered off, and a lead into what's been going on with the A70 Lightning. But let me just do a skip round what's been happening elsewhere, or what's been planned, by way of a sort of a summary and a stable update, before I then wish you all compliments of the season. But first off, let's start off with the Bonnie on the bench to my right here. Right then, Greg's Silver Jubilee Bonnie. So although I've not been able to do any work on this bike, I say due to this joint issue in my left wrist, but it's much better now. So almost back to normal after a bit of a steroid therapy. Although I've not been able to do much on this bike, we have been getting some parts together since Greg was visited us, and we had a bit of a blitz on it. When would it be? A couple of months ago now, probably. Yeah, probably as much as that. But the biggest thing is, as you can see, we've got the wheels having been rebuilt from Central Wheels, and I think these are looking pretty good actually. Really pleased with them, and you know, far better than we might have been able to achieve by touching them up with the slightly wrong colour paint, etc. Yeah, in the end we bit the bullet. So those are back now, and one of the next jobs will be to build these up with discs and sprockets, etc. We've got new discs, sprockets okay, and then at the moment it's the bike's just resting on that front wheel. It's quite secure, but we can begin to also, continue building up the front end there. What we've also got are replacement chrome bolts for the headlamp mount. We've got the proper screws for the headlight rim, and one or two other bits and pieces, which means we can really get stuck into this maybe during the Christmas break, but certainly early in the new year as well, and make some more progress. What I've also got as well is, if you remember, going back to one of the last videos on this bike, we'd got the head all secured down, but because I've not worked too much on these motors before, we didn't realise at the time that we needed a bridge washer underneath these central allens. So Julie managed to get hold of one of those. There it is. We'll get that put on properly so we're not damaging the head too much. But then we've got stacks to go out with the bike. And I think one of the other things that I'm going to do as well is start piecing together all the bits and pieces that make up how they're put together. The rear sort of master cylinder mounting and brake accoutrements, etc., for the rear brake pedal. There's a lot goes on behind the frame here with 2 or 3 plates that I've got to put together, so it's a bit of a jigsaw, and I've got to remind myself how to put that back together. But we've got all the documentation and stuff, so that's going to be okay. So I think that's where we are with Greg's bike. Nothing much to report on the 2 Furies. They've been out a couple of times in the autumn at shows, etc., so they're all looking pretty spick and span. But what we want to do in the new year at some point is, now we've got hopefully the gearbox sorted out on the Fury SS some time ago, is to run that up again. And one of the things I'm thinking of is that later on next year at Founders Day rally at Stanford Hall nearby, if we haven't got it registered, then I might take this on the trailer to Stanford Hall, and then we might be able to, well, display it on the BSA Owners Club stand, but also give it a run around the ring there, which would be quite nice if we can do that. But anyway, it's all looking spick and span, and at the moment it's just having its winter hibernation. And then at the back there, we've got the Aerial 3. That needs another run. Because if you remember, the last time we used that, we were having some problems with a load of crud coming out of the tank. So we've lined the tank, cleaned out the fuel lines, etc. I still think, I've given it a run relatively recently, but it was running a little bit lean and sputtering a bit. So as some of you suggested at the time, I think we'll need to get that carb off and give that another clean and just make sure there's nothing, no bits and pieces have got stuck in there. I did clean the carb out, but maybe I need to put it into the ultrasonic cleaner and give it a good clean out. But other than that, that's running pretty well. And recently as well, what I did was managed to secure another bit of documentation. This was off eBay recently. I've never seen this before, but a fascinating bit of hype from BSA from June 1970, when the Aerial 3 was first released, because it was released before the rest of the power set, and they'd built quite a lot of them in 1970. And there's some fascinating bits of documentation that I need to go through here with respect to pricing and stuff, dealer margins. Yeah, all very interesting. And that's, I say, only relatively recently arrived, so that can go with the Aerial 3 documentation. Right, on other news, before I go onto the bikes that are in the other storage unit, you might have noticed when I was walking around the Bonnie here, there's some bits and pieces there that look suspiciously like Fury, and they are. And what's happening is we're just putting a few bits together to go with the Bonnie when this lot goes back to Greg. And there's a frame and swinging arm, unmolested Fury Bandit frame and swinging arm. But these are for Greg Lawton, And I say they'll be going to New Zealand ultimately, I think, with when the Bonnie's done. Right, just a quick then roundup of the other bikes. So up at the other unit we've got the B50SS, which, as I say, are going through the registration process at the moment. And then once the Bonnie's off the bench, we'll get the B50SS up on the bench, or up here anyway, and might go for a first start on that before we strip it, because I think a decision has been made to restore that, but I'll do a separate video on that and the reasons why. But it comes from a bit of feedback we got when we were displaying it at the NEC Classic Motor Show, where a few people said, oh, actually it's not in as good as nick as we thought from the videos, and they're probably right. So I think a decision has been made probably that we're going to restore that, because I've got paint, parts, etc. I've got things in stock and in the stash that I can use, and we might do that at Dove Grey. But anyway, I'm sure people will comment about that. And although I did a bit of a poll on it, I think the vast majority, not the vast majority, the majority of you thought that I should try and run it as is and keep it original, but it was closely followed by those that thought we should do a restoration on it, and most of the comments said do a restoration on it, and that was always the intention. So I think that's what we're going to do. And I say we've got parts in stock to replace bits and pieces, so it's not going to be too expensive to do, I don't think. Also up there we've got the Rocket 3. Nothing wrong with that. I'm going to bring that up here and put a few miles on that this year, but nothing to do on the bike. It's holding up well. We've got the B25 SS that we want to do a few more road miles on, and that's all good and running. No work to do on that. It's weeping a bit of oil, but not too bad. Normal, as we say. And the other bike that's up there is the Lightning, which we've already talked about. So we're pretty much on top of stuff, really, and which means that from here on in, we can concentrate primarily on progress with the Bonnie, then the B50 project. But also I've been approached by somebody that wants me to have a look at the a gearbox on their A65, which might be quite interesting too. But anyway, there's a roundup of where we are, and give you something, well, some of my inclinations of what I'm going to do next year. So all I'll do now is thank everybody for all your interest, subscriptions, comments, interaction, etc. And to those as well that look at the community posts for the subscribers, which I'll continue to do. We've got plenty of things to do. My joints are feeling a lot better, so I'm quite positive. And I wish you all the compliments of the season. You know, whether you are one of those that celebrate Christmas or not, I wish you all a good break and a happy New Year. And we'll be back soon. And if I get bored during Christmas week, we'll do a video on the Bonnie. Right, that's it for now, everybody. Hope that's okay. And see you all again soon. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.